it's me, Monster Mack, coming to you fans with another Mack cast. And I'm not alone, people, because on the side of me I got trainee number 1.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, trainee number 1 in the house. And tonight we have another very special guest, a man who's wrestled all over New England for the top promotions, top to bottom. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the very first Whaling City Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, which he sent me in a text message recently. Scott Levesque, ladies and gentlemen, give it up, Scott Levesque.
What's going on, Scott?
Thanks for coming, by the way.
Definitely, we traveled a far way here to your lovely wooden cabin out in the woods. It's beautiful. Everything is made out of wood.
Everywhere I look, there's Scott Levesque pictures. Scott Levesque, he's 15. Scott Levesque, he's 13. Scott Levesque, he's 18 years old, choking a guy dressed like the Joker. It's insanity in here.
Wearing the full Batman costume, too. Where'd you get that costume? Jeez. I love it.
Yeah, I rented it.
Oh, it's wonderful. So, we have you coming down here. We've had a few different kinds of people on here. If you notice, every time we do a Mack cast, we upgrade the guest. Yeah. We like to, first we did low stuff. We're training number 9, get the people, the fans get to know him a little bit. Then we did Trevor, and now we did Eric Dillon, and now we bumped it up a little bit, and we brought you down here. And we want to let the Monster Mack fans exclusively know some inside information about some of the different wrestlers that we wrestle with and stuff like that. So we had you down here. My first question is...
Mack, before we get into the questions, geez, I want to talk a little bit, man. You say that we keep just going... Where do we go from Scott Levesque now? We think we screwed ourselves. We have nowhere to go. We're going to keep going up. Muldoon? Maybe we'll do Muldoon.
Muldoon.
Muldoon's a good guest.
Brickhouse Baker.
Brickhouse. We got to sit down with Brickhouse.
Some Sweet, you know?
Of course, Sweets. And I don't know who else, man. Bloodstone recently hit me up about it. Anthony Stone, I'm sorry. And Jose Perez I talked to recently as well. I think that'd be another really good guest. I'll ask him what happened with Samoa Joe, that whole thing. And like a bunch of other stuff, too, of course. But that's going to be the focus of my questions. Mac, you have anybody that you're thinking about having on?
You pretty much just listed a whole bunch of people, so I got no one right now. But AG Vito, that was me saying that. AG Vito, yeah, he would be a good person. I'm sure he has a lot of different stories. But pretty much, I pretty much screwed you because you put the podcast together, so we have to upgrade it every single time. But I am very happy to have Scott Levesque in the house, and the first thing I want to say to you is a sensational new jacket. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Robe,
oh, man, that's wonderful. Robe, yeah. The robe.
Mac, you know how we get this party started every time. Usually, Levesque, we go into Mac news when we first start. We bibble-babble a little bit about some Mac news. Then we go into the story O Levesque, which I'm really looking forward to getting into. It involves a lot of stuff that we were around for, and maybe some stories we don't even know. We'll find out. Mac, you got any Mac news?
I have some great Mac news for you, Macamaniacs out there. We got a new The Monster Mack Show episode, Season 2 out. And I go on quite the trip this episode.
What kind of trip are you talking about?
A big storm hits, and the studio gets spun around, and I go to a magical, mystical place called, can we say the name of it?
What, Blue Screen Land?
Yeah, the green screen land. And some blue, some green, some all different wonderful colors. We went to Oz, and we have it's a great episode. So check it out, fans. It's up now. It's Monster Mack goes to Oz and meets all kinds of wonderful different characters.
Now, Mac, you've mentioned that we got the new episode up. We got this new podcast dealie going. We got a super secret match project going on with some special commentary. I don't want to give too much away just yet.
It's so secret, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, Mac. You remember now. But what I'm saying, we got that. We got all that crazy stuff. What else we got? We got some upcoming shows, Mac. Do you know the dates for any upcoming shows?
I have it in my secret date calendar in my pocket right now, but I can't seem to find it. But I do want to say, if you fans haven't checked out the last episode of the Monster Mack Show, I battled the Terminator. It was pretty freaking awesome, if you know what I'm saying. So you fans check that stuff out, and I'll get back to you on them show dates.
This has to be my favorite Terminator ever, Casey Shooter played the Terminator. He was naked, but it looked like he was still wearing a sweater vest with his. He was pretty hairy. And we got some upcoming shows. By the time this is on iTunes, it'll be tonight in Providence, Rhode Island, at the Jocelyn Civic Center. I don't know what it's called, but Showcase Pro Wrestling. Check out ShowcaseProWrestling.com for more information. They got a bunch of dates coming up. What about you, Levesque? You got any dates?
I got some dates.
No, I do not.
No dates.
No dates.
I got this date.
March 29th, Whaling City Wrestling.
There it is, March 29th.
Don't go to that show and go March 29th to the Showcase Pro Wrestling show in Attleboro and come see us wrestle instead of Scott Levesque. No offense, Levesque, but, you're taking away from my payday, son.
This is the Mack cast. Also, the 23rd, the week before that, on a Saturday, we got a Showcase Pro Wrestling show. I'm not sure where it is. I'm guessing it's their show in Woonsocket, their home arena, at the home arena. It's pretty lovely. They painted it all black. They did a remodel. I love it.
I don't think it's blue. I don't think it's black. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's dark in there. I can't really tell my colors when it's dark.
I don't think you can tell your colors normally, Mac. Ladies and gentlemen, we've babbled for about a good 6 minutes at this point. A lot of jib-jab, a lot of back and forth. We got Scott Levesque sitting here patiently waiting. He's got his notes in front of him. He's been writing all day. And we want to sit down and we want to hear the story of Levesque. You know what I mean? The evolution of Scott Levesque from beginning to end. And, hopefully not end yet, right? You're not done yet. You're still wrestling?
I'm slowing down a little bit, yeah. Slowing down.
Slowing down?
Yeah.
Are you going to, at the end of the podcast announce your retirement? It's
No,
a
no.
big shock to the world.
No. Not yet, anyway.
Mac, now you said you had the first question. Do you know what the first question was anymore? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember the first question. But I do want to say that I've known you for a long time now, Scott Levesque. We had some matches back in ACW days.
Over 10 years, man.
And pretty much when my wrestling career started, you've always been there in the locker room with me. So I'm very happy to get you on this. I'm very happy to come to your place to do the podcast. So I'm going to have Training Number 1 kick it off with the questions because the last podcast I got way too intoxicated. And I announced the person awful. And so Training Number 1, you're going to kick it off.
Man, Master Mac was talking about how much he loved you there. And I love seeing you in locker rooms. I want to hold you tight. All of these things. Scott Levesque. You obviously started off as a wrestling fan as a child, like most pro wrestlers. What age did you get into pro wrestling as a fan?
I'm assuming from the womb, because my dad was a fan.
Just born right into wrestling.
Just
always
right into wrestling, I guess. My dad was a fan. He was an immigrant from another country.
Yeah.
He came over when he was 17.
Was he a big Portuguese Stallion fan?
I don't think Stallion was around at that point.
Stallion.
He came over in 1969. So he was really into the Bruno era.
Right.
And then he went to the Boston Garden, back in the day.
When it was the actual garden.
Yeah.
The real garden.
The real garden. And he used to watch live events. When Bruno was in his prime, Pedro Morales.
So your dad must be psyched that Bruno's going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
then.
yeah.
Have you talked to him about it?
I've talked to him since, yeah.
Yeah, he's all excited. That's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah. So he's seen Bruno in the garden.
Right.
The Boston Garden, in his prime. He's seen Pedro in his prime, So he was a fan, He spent money to go see these guys, years and years.
Boom. Scott Levesque is born.
Yep.
And right away he brings little baby boy into...
So it was always on in the home.
Yeah.
It was on TV. So I was a fan from birth, basically,
Do you, has your dad ever taken you out? Do you remember going out to see any
Yes.
independent wrestling shows?
No, by myself.
By yourself?
Yeah, but with my dad, I only went once, and that was the Bank Street Armory. I think it was 1988. Oh, man. 87, 88. And I barely remember the card, but I remember seeing, the Hart Foundation, Morocco, Tito Santana, all those guys.
So that was back when WWF was still running the Armory.
Yeah.
And so that's crazy then. So you got to see some crazy stuff in that little tiny building especially for. Can you imagine WWF running a show like that now?
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Oh man, didn't they try doing something like that with ECW?
Yeah,
Remember they brought ECW back and they were going to run the Omri.
They brought it back and I actually went to a show like in Western Mass.
Yeah,
it was like a house show.
Yeah,
so I saw Sabu, big show versus Sabu.
Yep,
main event at a house show.
Were we all at that? Did you? Were we with you?
I went with my brother-in-law and sister.
I went with. Didn't we go with Crave or something?
Yeah, we went with Peter Crave, I believe, and his lady friend at the time.
You wouldn't believe how easy it is to get into a wrestling arena wearing a wrestling mask. They have no problem with that at all. Everywhere else, there's a problem. You know, I can't go get Taco Bell without it being a deal, but I can go into the Providence Civic Center like nobody's business.
I picked up a sweet Sabu T-shirt. I like that shirt. I'm very happy I made it to that show. But that's cool. So your dad's. So you've seen some independent shows. I believe I remember Tatanka. I have a faint memory of Tatanka being in the Bank Street Armory as a child. My memories of slowly fading away as I get older. But so that's cool.
That's due to all the partying, Mac. That's due to all the partying.
I gotta keep up. You gotta keep up with your reputation. You know what I'm saying?
I got you, buddy. Now, Levesque. Now, how do you go from being a wrestling fan, growing up as a little kid? Did you do any backyard wrestling?
Yes.
Was the name Scott Levesque?
No.
Oh, well, do you remember the name? I'm shooting all this on him. I didn't tell. I never tell anybody what we're going to talk about. I just come at you. You know it too. You just don't want to say it. What is it? What is it?
Yeah. Initially, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about the possibility of using the name Tony Dreamer.
Tony Dreamer.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
that's great,
I didn't go with that one.
It's a man. When I was doing backyard wrestling, we had a Dan Van Dam. So you don't have to feel that bad.
I actually went with the name, Tony Snow.
Tony Snow, as
yeah.
Al Snow is what you were going for.
Yeah.
You wanted to be an Al Snow fan.
Snow, yeah.
Not legitimately on grass in your not
grass,
your backyard, but maybe somebody else's backyard.
Someone's backyard. Yeah.
Anybody that we would know was with you there.
Bloodstone, Anthony Stone.
Anthony Stone. Anybody else? Just you two.
His brother, Mercury.
Mercury. Yep.
Yeah. And a bunch of other dudes.
A lot of guys. Now, you have anything, Mac?
I'm not sure. What was the federation called?
Look at that.
At the time, it was called MEW.
MEW, because
Main Event Wrestling. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
No, because I know about your DW days, and I know we're gonna get into that. But pretty much is that where you went from backyard to RDW, which was
RDW is still backyard.
There was a professional ring involved, so it's a little more upgrade.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
Now, how do you go from being Tony Snow in the backyard to training with the guy who we like to mess with you about that job to Papa Shango on TV,
Shango
Mike
on
Edwards,
Raw,
right?
yeah, on TV.
Mike Edwards. How did you end up working with Mike Edwards? How did that come about?
Let me just go back to MEW for a second.
We're back at Main Event Wrestling.
Main Event Wrestling.
You're a heavyweight champion, I assume.
No, I wasn't. I was like 0-4. Or
0-4. You were the backyard jobber, Scott Levesque.
Only because, it was unique because Main Event Wrestling at the time, I don't know why, it was kind of like a shoot format.
I think every backyard wrestling promotion went through that phase.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't really know who was going to win, but if somebody hit their finish, you kind of...
No, not even, man.
No.
That's quite ridiculous. I never heard of that. You'd be having 4-hour matches until someone just gave up.
We're talking like MMA bullshit. You know what I'm saying? We're actually...
Well,
shooting,
you did have the last name to live up to, the Snow last name to be in the job squad. So it wasn't so bad that you were losing all the time.
With no athletic ability or amateur wrestling background, I found shoot fighting difficult.
I see.
But somehow we transitioned to a work format. And
was it? No, it was a work format. But was there always still them guys that would throw a little of the shoot into it? You know what I mean? Try to
at first it was all shoot, trying to pin the guy for real, and submit the guy for real. And like,
so it was kind of like
most of the time I was the guy submitting. You know,
so it was like kind of like high school wrestling, but
high
in the
school
backyard.
wrestling, yeah, in the backyard.
I see.
With gimmicks, by the way.
You have to have the gimmicks.
Tony Snow with the head, you know.
Yeah. Oh, he came out with the head and everything.
Yeah, in a shoot
Very
fighting
nice.
format. It was kind of weird. Yeah.
That's pretty hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Did you use the head during the shoots at all? Like whack the
during
guy,
the shoots,
just smash dude in the face.
No, I wish I did.
All right, so what happens? Mike Edwards, he's pimping through New
Mike
Bedford
Edwards
one day.
comes later, actually.
Way later?
Somehow we evolved. We're like, fuck, you know, can I curse on here?
You can curse, yeah.
We're like, F that bullcrap. And
You can say bullshit. The F word is the kind of a maybe on here because I don't want to.
The C word too. You can't say that.
Well, I
but
wouldn't use that.
you can drop the F bomb. You only got 3 of them.
Okay,
I'm only allowing 3, and you already dropped the 1, I believe.
No, I
that
didn't.
was half of one.
I
That was
stopped
point,
myself
yeah,
like
you
that,
were right.
yeah.
He did. He stopped himself.
We'll give it to you.
So F this bullish.
yeah.
What happens?
I don't know. We brought in some guys that we're friends with, mutual friends with. One of them being my brother-in-law, and because they were mutual friends with Mercury, who ran that stuff.
Right. He was the one running main event wrestling.
Yeah. He was like the president or whatever.
Yeah, the
He's
president.
the guy running it. And that's Bloodstone's brother.
Right, Anthony Stone.
And like, we had a show. Like, we were doing like all these like shoot matches for whatever reason, and we had one match. We brought in those guys, and their match was different because it was like a worked format.
Right, they went out there and actually had a match.
Yeah, and like an actual
And
match.
did that blow your mind? Is that
It
what
was
you were
like,
like? Holy,
wait a minute. Yeah, exactly.
we could be doing that stuff.
We could be doing that stuff, you know.
Instead of
and
just choking me every time. Me
after
tapping
that-
real quick.
after that, we just transitioned, you know.
You guys started working with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's now this is all on the grass, no
On the
no
grass
ring yet,
in
nothing
someone's
like that.
backyard. Yep.
I'm assuming Mercury's backyard since he's the one running it.
No,
Unless
it
he's
was-
like renting backyards out
No,
for
it
people.
was like some other guy's backyard. Tommy D. Pereira. Actually.
He was the vice president, right, of the company, who owned the backyard.
No, I think Bloodstone was actually the vice
Yeah,
president.
I say the 2 brothers. Makes sense.
All right, so now your MEW, you guys have evolved from shooting at each other as. How old are you at this point?
I'm 18 years old.
18 years old.
18, yeah.
Beating the shit out of kids in the backyard. And
The other way around. actually.
really, yeah. So you're 18
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
beat up in the
Remember,
backyard.
0 and like 4.
0 and 4.
Yeah.
And so how do you make the transition to starting to train in a legitimate ring and stuff?
I don't know. We found out. I don't know how this came about, but we found out about, or they found out about us, a group called SCW, not
SCCW.
no, not
which
South
is
Coast.
South Coast. SCW is Suicide
Yeah,
Championship
yeah.
Wrestling.
How do you know about them?
I know I got my info all stored up in
Yeah.
this noggin of mine. I've known a lot.
Suicide
Championship.
Suicidal.
Suicide Championship Wrestling. I know.
And they're located in New Bedford in the Croba.
Yep.
And I guess they were mentored by Mike Edwards. I guess they were all like, I don't want to use the word flunkies,
Yeah,
but they went to YPW.
Yep.
They didn't like the way they were like
Running
training, the trainings or whatever. They started their own group, had their own backyard thing, bought a ring, bought like a storage facility, and they had their own ring.
They had it set up in the storage place,
Yeah.
and they would run training right out of there,
Mhm.
right?
And it was called the Croba.
Out of the
And
Coroba.
and they, I guess they scouted us.
Yeah.
Scouted us, but, they came to one of our shows, saw that we had like potential, and I'm using quotations.
Yeah, and if you can't tell by the tone of his voice.
And they invited us to go there, and they ran trainings, and we rented out their place to put on what was later evolved into Real Deal Wrestling, which was RDW.
So, tell me about your first experience in an actual real ring, because it's quite the transition from straight wrestling on the ground to a ring with ropes. And let me know what's going on with that. How'd you feel?
A ring with ropes, you say, Mac?
Not one of them on non-rope rings.
It was different. It was weird because, like, we would go into trainings, but we weren't fully trained until like we were still like using the ring, renting out like the space and using the ring to still put on shows when we weren't fully trained, you know. So it was like still like a transition, you know, like the ropes hurt,
right? Yeah.
You know, and
bumping sucked, right? You guys
not really because we were bumping on grass before that.
So yeah, so it's not bad after that,
it was
right?
a slight upgrade, I guess, you know.
So you're training at the Karoba with working with Suicide Championship Wrestling.
By the way, the trainers were the main dudes were in the office. It was Eric Medeiros,
C.
Mello.
We mentioned him on a previous podcast.
Yeah. Like by the way, why do you know him as C. Mello?
That was his old AIM name.
Yes,
Internet screen name.
AOL, yeah.
That's why I don't know why. That's the only name I remember him by.
That was his screen name.
I had to text Paul Lombardi to find out what his regular name was.
Yeah,
because I couldn't remember that stuff.
But he ran the office. He took our money and and Onyx and Cinna. They were known, I guess, in the independent Elements of Suicide (EOS), and I guess they're kind of like independent wrestlers. I guess because like they worked Yankee Pro. I've seen them actually work Yankee Pro before.
No, wasn't Riot
Riot
involved
came
with
later,
them
I
somehow?
think. Yeah,
he was like the third member eventually.
Eventually, he became the third member of EOS. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think he came later though.
Yeah, I believe it was later on in YPW.
All this, what I'm talking about right now, happened like very early, like 2000, late '99. So yeah.
Now I knew C. Mello because he did try doing the same with ACW when we wrestled there. He tried coming in and being the main guy and taking over. That's pretty much all my memories of C. Mello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I yelled at that dude once. That was pretty funny. You were there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through the argument. For some reason, Peter Crave remembered it being Paul Lombardi that did it, but it was me.
I think it was a combination of both of you.
Was it? Was it me and Lombardi yelling?
Yeah.
See, I don't even remember that. I just remember me being pissed and yelling at him, like, what are you crapping on Bob's for? That's not nice.
He was talking about bumping on pallets, right? That's what he was saying.
What the hell does that even have to do with anything? I don't know. All right, so you're paying up C. Mello, you're throwing him up. How much you paying at that time to train at the Karoba?
Hundreds, I think.
Wow.
We would all, like,
Jesus.
a group of, like, 20 dudes, like, pulling their money together.
You're not, like, coming hundreds out of your pocket.
Not out of my pocket, no.
That's what I thought
that would come later on out of my pocket, you know?
So you're running, you guys are paying hundreds of dollars to rent out this building. Are you guys running shows just for yourselves?
Yeah, every week, yep.
Now, when do you become Scott Levesque?
Scott Levesque. Oh, that was, like, before all this. We're still in the backyard.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tony Snow seemed like a, whack, lame name, you know? I didn't have a name. Like, I had a transition name, so I used my, shoot last name backwards, and it was...
Wait a minute.
My shoot last name backwards is, La Rama.
You have to say, you didn't have to say it, but...
And,
La Rama, huh? That's pretty crazy.
There are
people out there right now going, what the hell is La Rama backwards?
And
so what was the first name?
Tiger.
Tiger La Rama.
Like Tony the Tiger, you know? So, like an aristocratic, like, like gimmick, like an Alberto Del Rio.
I see.
Gimmick.
Was your outfit different? Much different from
not much different
from Tony Snow.
A little different,
Did you throw some orange in there?
Whatever,
I see.
So
that didn't last long.
Where did you come up with the Scott Levesque name?
Then eventually, that wasn't getting over, I guess.
Yeah,
and like I was at the time, like 98, 99. I was a big mark for Raven.
Right.
Ever since like 95.
Who wasn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I'm going to use this character, and I dressed up like Raven, with
you had Levesque's Law. Instead of Raven's Rules, it was Levesque's
That would come
Law.
later, yeah.
That comes later, okay.
But I had the flannel, the ripped up like jean shorts, the long hair, the leather jacket, and I didn't have a name yet. And I would just show up at ringside, just watching the matches, you know.
Ringside. Is this actually like when there's a ring? Or this
backyard
is
side.
Backyard side. So you're just standing at the edge of the grass.
I was the only one there, just watching the matches, and I was going nameless for a while. I didn't have a name, so one of the fellow backyard wrestlers at the time was Pat Masters, and
Playboy Pat Masters.
Playboy Pat Masters.
I'm a wealth of information.
Who would later become IQ from the Score.
Right.
He said, "Hey, why don't you just use Raven's last name, which is Scott Levy?"
Yeah.
But he said, "Why don't you just use Raven's last name, Scott Levesque?" I was like, "That's it. Not that that's Raven's last name, but like, oh, that's a cool name, you know?"
Right. Yeah.
So it just stuck, and I used the name Scott Levesque.
And forever and ever, you've just been Levesque since then.
Yep.
Oh, because you loved Raven as a child.
Yeah.
You were a big Raven fan as a kid. That's crazy. I got my name because I'm his first trainee. It's pretty
clever,
pretty self-explanatory.
Simple,
yeah. Before I was this though, I was the hip hop homie. I bet nobody knew that.
I knew that.
I know you knew
I
that.
was there.
I was the hip hop homie. I did some dances. I wore some Sean John shorts instead of Mack ones.
You wore like a really bootleg Rey Mysterio mask that you go to like the wrestling shows and you buy for like $4. It's made out of paper.
It wasn't made out of paper. It was made out of foam. Thank you very much. All right. So now we're at say Real Deal Wrestling. How does Real Deal Wrestling come about? Are you one of the founders? Were you just somebody that was in there in the beginning when it first started?
I was there in the beginning with Main Event Wrestling with Bloodstone's brother, Mercury.
And Mercury, yep.
I'm the one that actually helped, bring it back. And
did it disappear for a while, or what was the?
I mean, I guess Mercury and his brother Bloodstone like did it back in the day, and I just growing up, like I wasn't athletic. I was like a geek with glasses, and I gravitated towards guys that were fans of wrestling.
Yeah.
And I saw Mercury in school, and I saw that he had like Bret the Hitman Hart keychain. I just gravitated towards him.
I'm gonna talk to that guy.
And we became friends, and he started talking about backyard wrestling. I was like, "Oh, that's cool," and we just started that stuff up.
Similar story. First time I talked to Peter Crave in high school, and class got canceled, so we were all hanging out in the auditorium, and I seen one kid jumped off the stage and gave one guy a Hurricane Rana, and I was like, oh crap. So I'm like, I gotta talk to them guys. So I pretty much started talking to them, and I told them about how I backyard wrestle or whatnot on my trampoline, and that's pretty much how friendships were born through wrestling in high school, pretty much.
Definitely.
Now, so you're friends with Bloodstone, you're friends with Mercury. You guys start doing RDW. Is it all in the Caroba when you guys are doing RDW?
Yes.
So you guys never did any like live shows outside of that?
No, it was always in the Caroba. The public were invited if they knew about it by invitation.
But it wasn't like paying ticket. Like
no, never. It was never like throughout the whole history of RDW. It was never like paying.
Right. Now, you were Scott Levesque in RDW.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any like notable feuds that stand out in your mind from RDW?
I had my flock-like stable.
You had like a group of dudes that followed you. That's awesome.
I don't know who was the first one or whatever, but Bloodstone was one of the first dudes. Among other guys, I had my own like Perry Saturn like enforcer dude.
Was there a sign guy?
Was there a sign? There might have been. Like, I'm not sure. Not sure.
So you guys are doing RDW. You have your flock deal. Who was your big feud with? Was it a fake Goldberg?
No, it wasn't. Like at that point, like before this, Tony Snow, who was 0-4 in shoot fights, and Main Event Wrestling, which evolved into RDW. I was kind of like known as the jobber, like at that
Still
point.
in RDW?
Yeah, like, and then like when I transitioned into Scott Levesque, I was like more of a manager, like incorporating my stable of dudes called New Breed, like a bunch of misfits, and Bloodstone was in it, and I was more like a manager. And then eventually, the champion at the time,
Yep.
Which was Terrence Thomas. He was like probably at the time the most talented out of everybody there.
Out of everybody in the group of guys that were wrestling there. Yep.
If you can pinpoint like who's gonna make it out of these like group of misfits, backyarders,
that guy was the guy.
He would be the guy
you would gravitate towards.
Yeah.
And where is Terrence Thomas now?
I have no idea.
No idea.
No idea.
All right. So I'm sorry. Continue.
He was the heavyweight champion, and there was no booking or anything, like no formal booking or whatever. I guess whoever was a champion would dictate like who they would drop it to.
Yeah.
So he just like shot like the finish.
Yeah.
So he like defended the title against somebody in the main event. Then Scott Levesque, this manager dude with this like flock of dudes, came out.
No. I'm sorry to cut you off, but why do you feel like you were a manager? Was it because of your mic skills at the time? Because I don't know about RDW's history of guys with mic skills, but I would assume that you'd be one of them.
Just because that was a new character and I didn't really know how to like incorporate that into like a in-ring debut.
I see.
So I just like copied Raven, and what I knew of Raven, and he had like a flock of guys. And I called it the New Breed, and which included Bloodstone and like a bunch of.
Do you have a library of all this stuff?
Oh yeah, I do.
I would love to see you in some dark room cutting a promo, sitting Indian style. I would love that.
Yeah, and I did.
New Breed. Didn't Bloodstone go on to use that in PTW? Wasn't that the name of his group?
Did he really?
Yeah, it was the
Or
New
was
Breed.
it the Bad Breed?
Oh yeah,
it could have been the Bad Breed.
It was the Bad Breed. You're
Him
right.
and
You're
like
right.
Jason or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You're right.
Oh, and Jason was another one of the members of the New Breed. So.
Jason from ECW, the Sexiest Man Alive. Not that Jason.
No,
not that guy.
Not Jason Knight. No.
So, I don't even know. So you were you're talking about what's that guy's name?
The RDW champion Terrence Thomas.
Terrence Thomas.
The Big Cheese.
Out, you're the Big Cheese. You come out. Your manager Scott Levesque. Do you defeat that dude for the belt?
Yes. He defended his title, and I just challenged him right there, and I like squashed him. I guess
You just squashed the champ, right?
Just like the best wrestler that we had.
And you guys just whipped him.
Most talented wrestler that we had. I just beat him for the belt right there.
What did you defeat him with? Was it the even flow?
It was like some sort of DDT. Yeah.
Of course. All right, now you're in RDW. You were telling me earlier, RDW heavyweight champion 3 times, right?
Yeah.
3-time RDW heavyweight champion. You find out that your good buddy, who also works in RDW, Michael Thorne at the time, William Thorne now, is wrestling for a place called Primetime Wrestling.
Yeah.
How do you get involved in Primetime Wrestling?
I believe that came after like RDW folded.
It was RDW was done.
Yeah, so obviously he found someplace else to wrestle, and some of us like Pat Masters and his brother Dice, trained for Yankee because Mike Edwards, who groomed us and like mentored us and trained us, he was friends with some of the guys from Yankee Pro because he used to wrestle there.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was the Portuguese Stallion.
I mentioned him earlier.
And he came to our shows, scouted. He's like, hey, you guys, some of you guys have potential. Some of you guys have a long way to go. And I think I was one of those guys that had a long way to go. And some of us went to Yankee Pro Wrestling trainings.
Right.
And some of us excelled.
I think everybody in this room went to at least
at
least several Yankee Pro Wrestling trainings.
And I was there with Brickhouse Baker,
Join the list, dude.
And Carlos, but with RDW and the guys from RDW, like we're the Portuguese Stallion's like pet project.
Yeah.
And
he took you guys under his wing.
Mm-hmm. And we would have our own our own trainings with Carlos.
Just like special RDW stallion trainings.
Yeah. Because some of us we're all intimidated.
This was all in New Bedford, at the old Yankee building,
at the old Sunshine Plaza. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like the one that was right next to McDonald's.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and so we're scared. I was one of those dudes.
You got scared off?
Because at the time I was like a LeMay, full of my own shit,
Yeah.
Insecure.
Big fish, little pond.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a lot of work, And some guys excelled, like Pat Masters, which eventually became IQ from the store.
Yep.
His brother, Dice, and some of us just found other, easier ways to
other
still
places
get our
to
wrestling
work.
fix, And I guess that's when William Thorne found
Will Thorne.
ACW.
Now, Will Thorne, I think he got the book almost right away over there. Did that happen? I'm pretty sure that happened, right? And you're buddy with Will Thorne. You guys know each other for a long time. Your first appearance on a primetime wrestling show, I believe, was in like an opening match, like pre-show, like they call it a dark match, which I don't understand because there's no TV. But you were part of the dark match, and who were you wrestling against?
I was part of the pre-show, and I was wrestling my boy Carlos V.
Yeah,
and
it was a three-way, wasn't it?
No, I don't believe so.
It was just you and Carlos
I
V?
think it was just me and Carlos V.
Is this your first time wrestling in front of a crowd with
with
paying fans? Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been, yeah. Yep.
And what do you remember from that first match with Carlos V?
I don't remember much, actually.
No, not much.
Not much.
Yeah, that's it. Carlos V is a really nice guy. That's what Scott Levesque telling me.
God bless him.
God bless him. But you would think, since Thorne was booking,
right,
and he was in the main event, right?
Yeah, he was heavyweight champion. He was wrestling, like you said, LeMay, and some just LeMay. It's just bad.
Why wouldn't he book his boy in a better spot?
Why wouldn't LeMay get any training? You know what I mean? These are two questions that we'll never know the answer to, Scott Levesque. Why Michael Thorne threw you in the opening contest, and why franchise Brian Saya continues to wrestle with zero wrestling training.
I mean, at the time, I was a 3-time RDW champion.
3-time? That's a lot.
William Thorne was never a RDW champion.
Yeah, you know? He was jealous. That might have been what it was. He was upset you got the belt in RDW.
Maybe Dave Oliver played a role in this of why you... maybe it was a strict stipulation where guys had to do the quote-unquote dark match a few times.
Show how hungry you were to be part of primetime wrestling.
Yeah, I see. Which eventually turned into ACW, which eventually turned into WCW, which it is today. And we're going to go through all that. We're going to go right up to it. So you had your first match for PTW, was it?
Yeah.
It was called at the time. Yeah. And... I was there too. I don't know what the hell I was doing that show, but
Peter Crave. I think you wrestled Peter Crave.
So you actually started wrestling there as soon as they opened, along with me, because
possibly. I
did a few trainings with some blind karate boxing guys.
Dana, yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I was one of the training deals.
I see. I don't.
Yeah.
Like I said, my memory.
We're jogging or something, right? Dana was instructing us to jog around the ring or something. I was there. I don't know.
I see. So, what came next after that? Hopefully that.
I think I had a series of matches with Carlos V.
All for PTW.
All for PTW.
Were they all dark matches?
I think they were all dark matches, pre-show matches. Thanks to my my booker friend William Thorne, who was in the main events.
Was it some kind of main storyline that made you break free from this dark fest mayhem?
No, I don't think so. No, I think eventually I was in a 3-way with a kid called Zero.
Oh, I see.
And
He was a guy who came from my backyard, actually.
Yeah,
he's in a terrible band called Love Left You Bleeding. That's the truth, folks.
So, I know you eventually became a member of the youth. Now,
You are skipping way ahead.
I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I want to know how you broke free from this whole dark match mayhem.
I don't know. That's all a blur.
What was your first storyline? Do you remember?
You don't have that in your notes. You don't have it in the notes
I just
how you stop being a Java.
I've got on here ACW memories. That's
not one of them.
I got Mike Edwards.
ACW
memories, booking for ACW. That's what I got on.
Yeah.
Eventually, I was part of the youth.
Right.
Jeffrey Mills. That all happened
Yeah,
at Encore Plaza.
All that. Yeah. The PTW was Angkor Plaza.
Okay, so I wrestled two
and
matches.
They shut down.
Two pre-show matches with Carlos V. Then I had one 3-way match for a belt
United States
the mid-card
championship,
belt.
or whatever it was. Yeah,
Whatever it was, with Zero. I took the fall. It was like
3 of you. It was you, Zero, and Nick Bianchi.
who's that? What was his gimmick name?
I don't remember.
Nick Bianchi.
You don't remember his name? Wasn't the Ringmaster?
Ringmaster. That's right.
He used to wear the
Yes.
Ringmaster T-shirt.
Yeah.
That was his wrestling gear.
Okay.
You like how I remember that, don't you?
I think I was the one pinned in that.
Yeah, you got
match,
pinned
of
by
course,
both. You got pinned by both guys, right? I'm pretty sure both guys
Yeah.
pinned you.
Yeah.
And so
Had to pay my
did those-
dues, you know.
Yeah, paying those ACW dues.
Even though my boy William Thorne was booking, and
That
the
was-
champion, but
that was
and
a-
the champion at the time, by the way.
That was a big Dave Oliveira catchphrase. Gotta pay them dues.
Yeah. Yeah.
He meant actual money though when he was talking.
He didn't know what he was talking about. So you have the opening matches. You start wrestling on the actual card. Primetime wrestling basically shuts down after about 3 or 4 shows at the Ankle Plaza, and they reopen once again as ACW Alliance Championship Wrestling at the Durfee Union Mills, Building 11, Floor 4. And they would run. They had a training deal set up in there all that time. That's when we met each other, me and you. But you had already known Mack, right?
You weren't at the primetime wrestling.
I wasn't wrestling I wasn't wrestling at that point. No, so I didn't start wrestling until the Mills.
See, I Trini pretty much. I took him under my wing, and then eventually, when he earned his spot, he started becoming my tag team partner.
he knows.
He knows about it all. But so, have you joined the youth yet? Was that your big push that got you going?
That was my big push, joining the youth.
So the
Eventually.
ACW started back up. You joined the youth, which is aligned with Dave Oliveira, one of the main influences of ACW. So you got a decent spot. I don't know why they weren't pushing you, because I loved your ring gear. You had
Which
the,
was
the
what?
tassels, the white
Yeah.
tassels on your shirt, and you had the Chris Benoit style tights.
We can't say that on here. We can't say Chris Benoit. We can't talk about that.
If the Insane Clown Posse could make a song about Chris Benoit, I think I could talk about him on my podcast.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Insane Clown, what now? So what we were saying, we're in the Durfee Mills. You're in the youth. I'm going to throw some names at you. You gotta tell me what you think about them, all right?
At the association.
We're going to do some ACW Mills word association.
Okay.
Paul Lombardi.
Great talent.
Yeah.
Head and shoulders above the rest of the guys.
Everybody else that was there.
He was part of the youth?
Except for
Really?
me. Except for me, of course.
Was he part of the youth?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
one of the... I have some video footage of you guys all out there
Okay.
as a group. He was with Michael Thorne. We already know Michael Thorne's your buddy.
Yes.
Also in the youth was...
Making me pay my dues.
Havoc.
Yep.
How do you feel about Havoc?
Good guy.
Yeah, good guy?
Yeah, yeah.
God bless him?
God bless him.
God bless him. And so who else was in the
Mac
youth?
Echo.
Mack Echo. Was he also in the youth? Yeah. Now,
God bless him. you
God
know?
bless him as well. And all right, who
Good
else?
guy.
Good guy, right? And Dave Oliver, the leader of the youth.
Yep.
And the big feud at that time was always between the youth, Dave
The
Oliver,
Demon, right?
and the Demon. And we're not talking Dale Torborg. We're talking the Demon of ACW, ladies and gentlemen. He used to come to shows even when he wasn't booked.
God bless him.
God bless him. Now, how was it working? Did you ever have a singles match with him?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You really?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
Not good.
Right.
No, it was okay. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That's it. Just not good is really the answer that he was going with.
No, I remember Paul Lombardi as a youth member only because of what happened with the Demon.
The backstage altercation, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
No, the no selling,
It started
right?
in the ring.
No, so-
I was
and then
used to the no selling, though.
Yeah.
You know?
And Lombardi was pissed. Yeah, what was the deal? He was punching with a chain.
The deal was that the Demon had these extra special powers that allowed him just to fight through the pain and absolutely no sell any
Everything,
maneuvers.
yeah.
Everything. So Paul
See, I was
Lombardi.
used to that, but I guess Paul wasn't. So
So refresh my memory of what happened. We all know what happened in the ring. He no-sold his choke slams or whatever, his tombstones or whatever the hell it was. What happened in the back? Refresh my memory here. Were you there personally?
Personally, I was.
I think we all were there, man.
Yeah, there was a big pull apart or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But in ring, I guess when that was all happening, like between the Demon and like Paul Lombardi, I was trying to overcompensate.
So
But
you
by
were selling like a maniac? Is that what you were doing?
I'm sorry?
Were you selling like a
Like
maniac?
selling like
Yeah.
a maniac and
Trying to sell.
and taking a choke slam, like took a tombstone pile driver, by the way.
Oh, so you were like Ric Flair out during the Goldberg match.
During the melee, you know? During that whole thing, you know?
So in the locker room, they get into a little bit
We
of an
all get
altercation.
backstage,
Yeah.
and Paul Lombardi and the Demon exchange words. Things get heated, and there's a big pull-apart brawl.
Now, wasn't it between like Havoc and Paul Lombardi? Wasn't there like I don't even think the Demon was involved, wasn't
No, the Demon had to be involved, right?
I think
'Cause that was the whole issue.
I thought that Havoc like slapped him while Lombardi was like
Unless,
sitting
like-
down, and then Chad like yanked him up in the choke, right?
Unless, like,
Or am I making this whole thing up?
No, you're not making that up. That is what
unless
happened.
Havoc, like, took the Demon's side.
Yeah, I think that might have been what happened.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a physical altercation.
Because it all, like, spawned from, like, the Demon no-selling.
Right, in the Demon no sell in the ring, yeah. And I think that Havoc was like had his back and all that nonsense, and it turned into insanity.
Just to get off the subject, I gotta add this. The Demon also has a bunch of contracts stored up in his asshole. He just pulls them out here and there randomly
Yeah.
to make up title matches. So we'll get off the Demon. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Just to clarify what Mack is talking about, the Demon every week at the ACW shows would come out and talk about a contract that he had that stated he was the owner of the promotion, or he had a championship match, or whatever it may be that week. So you're wrestling, and the Durfee Union Mills is really where we all become friends, and it's because we blamed Tough Daddy.
I found some trash bags.
Yeah, we pulled the old power company
in my
rip on you.
sweet ass jacket, by the way.
It was a pretty sweet
Hold
jacket.
on, 1 second.
Oh, Scott Levesque is leaving. Is he going to go get the jacket? Yeah, he has it. From 10 years ago, he still has the same jacket hanging up in his... What's Scott Levesque's not telling you? One day, me and Mac, we took the trash bags. We found them in the ring, under the ring, or somewhere.
It was a rib that I seen the power company pull on Jerry Lynn, I believe. And
No, Chris Hamrick. I thought, didn't they pull it on Chris Hamrick?
yeah, it was Chris Hamrick. So I was like, what a genius idea. I got to pull this on somebody one day. So, yeah, that was us. I know you know now.
So naturally, I get pissed off.
Like, who the hell?
I
put
confront Tough Daddy, and we have a match.
We tell.
I tell Dave, hey, book this
tell
match,
Scott
me versus
Levesque.
Tough Daddy, right now.
We tell Scott Levesque that we've seen Tough Daddy over near his stuff, like meddling with his things, and he wrestles Tough Daddy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know Tough Daddy, you may have seen him on Wrestle Awesome Fest. Look up Tough Daddy versus Extreme Satin on YouTube. It's supposed to be Satan, but it's spelled wrong. He's a ghost hunter. He's a rapper. He's a terrible wrestler. And Scott Levesque literally took just liberties upon this kid. How do you feel now, looking back at that, knowing that you beat the crap out of a kid who might really just have something wrong with him?
The Trio Woe was involved in that match.
I don't know. It was a horrible match, and my
No,
finish.
I thought it was a fantastic match.
My submission finish at the time was like a dragon sleeper, like a surfboard dragon sleeper.
Yeah.
And I told him, "Hey, man, this is the finish. Tap out, And instead of tapping out,
He fought through
like a
the
normal
pain.
person, he hulked up, fought out of it. I was like, "Oh shit, what's going on?" So I'm like, "Fuck,
About
what
to
am I
get
gonna do
tough
now,
dropped.
So I get the belt. I guess I had the mid-card belt at the time, whatever it was called,
The
you know.
mid-card, bro.
And I grabbed the belt, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hit him with the belt, get DQ'd. So I hit him with that belt, and he no-sells. He just stands there. I'm like, oh, my God. So I hit him for real with it.
Oh,
He's
jeez.
not moving. He didn't take a bump. So I keep on hitting him with it. No selling. I'm like, fuck. So...
No. Is that your second half?
Yeah, it might have been.
I'm going to make a promise to the Monster Mac fans right now. I will get you that Tough Daddy footage, and I will put it online. I will show you fans Exactly.
So I put him in the tree of woe. I'm like, okay, I've got to get disqualified now. So I put chairs in front of his face, and then I drop kick him. You know?
Oh man, it was vicious.
So, how do we go from
pure gold right there?
Pure gold. Now, did you have any like feuds or anything from the Durfee Mills time?
I don't think so.
Nothing really like
me
that stands
and
out.
William Thorne were like tag champs, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, you beat. It was supposed to be us, but I got hurt. Yeah, I got.
It was
like,
Monster
Mack
Mack and Scotty Jive taking your place.
Yeah, Jive came out like halfway through the match.
We hit you with like a
chair
or something. Yeah,
we're talking documentary. This is all in the documentary, which is available on monstermac.net for only $10 on DVD. By the way, just figured I'd plug that real quick. So Levesque, we're getting closer. We become actual friends outside of. How does that happen? Just from us constantly harassing you, right?
From you ribbing me and
just
stuff.
Just always just.
You eventually let me know that it wasn't Tough Daddy.
Yeah, it was
who
us,
stuffed those trash bags in my pockets.
Yeah.
It was you guys. So.
And you became like a frequent to our on Monday night. We'd have everybody. We'd all go to Peter Crave's house and watch wrestling and yell at each other, and everybody would wrestle around and just, act a fool.
Yep.
The normal thing, and we became pretty close. And you
started
started
part of the clique.
the clique.
I sang the Natural theme song. So,
I'm pretty sure everybody that was a wrestling fan around our age calls their group of friends the clique.
Yeah.
At one point or another, your friends would call it the clique. I swear don't lie to yourselves. Don't lie to me. You know it's true.
Yeah, but not every group of friends make every new person sing the Natural theme song to introduce him into the clique.
He's talking the Natural Dustin
Rhodes,
Ronald. Yeah, Dustin Rhodes.
Call him the Natural.
Natural. We all had to sing it. I got chopped up while singing it. Long story. We're not talking about that now. We'll do that on another podcast. But Scott Levesque becomes our friend, and he. How did you end up taking over the booking at ACW?
You're glossing over something.
Oh, what are we missing here? See, he's got his notes. That's
Peter
why.
Crave was actually the booker.
Right. And you guys were Pony. Peter Crave.
Eventually became Pony.
Yeah, you guys were a united group, and Tony Snow and Peter Crave became Pony.
Yep. And we left the Durfee Mills, and I think we were starting to put on shows in the VFW.
But between the Durfee Mills and the VFW we did like the Salvation Army show.
Yes.
With McNasty.
Yes.
And I think even before that we did it was like a show literally inside of a church basketball gym. That you were there, but you couldn't wrestle because you burnt your arm making a hamburger or something crazy.
That's the truth, man.
You burnt your arm making a hamburger.
Right there, yeah.
You couldn't wrestle. You couldn't wear the belt. That's what he told me.
Hamburger grease.
Hamburger grease. I go out of my way to put on a show. I'm trying to help the promoter out. I book the show. I find the venue, all these things. Scott Levesque shows up the day of the show like, oh, I got this little red mark on my arm. I can't bump, kid.
It was wrapped up.
Yeah, it was wrapped up. Sure it was. So after that, we did the...
Who was I booked against? The Demon?
I don't... Was it Demon?
Was it the Demon?
It might have been.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, probably. So we go from Durfee Mills to the church, which that church show was pretty cool. It was a big building. Then we did the Salvation Army show, another big building. We drew pretty well, both of those shows.
I show up there, and I was stripped of the title, by the way. That mid-card belt.
That mid-card belt, I took that away from Scott Levesque. Later on, he paid me back by not wanting to do a title switch with me later in the future by Michael Thorne. But we'll get into that later. You show up. Didn't you win the belt back, though?
Yeah, in a battle royal.
You were stripped of the belt. I had so much confidence in you, I gave you that belt back right away that same night. Yeah. And I don't know why I was booking those two random spot shows, but I was, strangely enough. And you won like a battle royal. You ripped off Monster Mack's mask.
Did I?
Who ripped off your mask that battle royal? And you had to like scurry under the ring and hide your face.
That was Teddy GQ.
That's not his name. That's GQ's
Gregory Edwards,
GED.
which I eliminated to win that battle royal.
Yeah. Gregory Edwards, you silly son of a gun.
And I won that battle royal, reclaimed my mid-card belt. What's the name of that belt, by the way?
It was the Interstate Championship.
Let's just call it the mid-card belt.
I'm okay with mid-card belt. I have no problem with
that. And why did I wrestle again? I wrestled some guy called the Iron Man.
Iron Man, and you guys tore it down. I love Iron Man. He's been 45 the entire time I've known him. And so you wrestled again that night? Because it's indie wrestling. You need as many matches as possible. You need like 12 matches on the show.
Yeah.
We do those 2 spot shows, and then eventually Dave gets the VFW hall in Fall River. So we
You're glossing over something.
Oh,
the way I beat the Iron Man, O'Connor roll, boom, pull the tights, totally exposing Iron Man's ass, by the way.
Just ass and...
Hopefully that's on camera.
Was there ball cheeks?
Yeah, totally
what are ball
exposed.
cheeks?
The cheeks of your ball. You know what I'm saying?
That is inappropriate, Mac. So, you expose old man Iron Man's balls to everybody. What am I glossing over anything here?
No.
You were just happy. That was part of your notes. You wanted to talk about how you were 6 foot. I wish I could read I'm going to take those notes.
There it is. Iron Man's balls. I'm reading it right now.
So, now we go over to the VFW. Now the VFW you had a lot of feuds there. You eventually became ACW heavyweight champion there.
With my big money feud with Scotty Jive.
Now Jive, did you go right into a feud with Jive?
I'm not sure.
He has no idea. I don't know either, to tell you the truth.
It's not in my notes. I don't know.
No, Scotty Jive was a champion for a while.
Like 18 months or some shit.
He held it for a while.
Yeah.
Do you remember where the match was with Scotty Jive and what led up to that?
It was in the VFW. I won number one contendership somehow. Maybe a battle royal or something.
Just throw a battle royal in there.
I started insulting his girlfriend or something that was in the crowd.
The Vixen, I believe her name was.
No.
You are
Maybe it was a different girlfriend.
You are totally wrong, dude. The Vixen was his girlfriend in the plaza.
Yeah, it was a different girlfriend.
Yeah.
I started insulting her, making fun of Scotty Jive. I think she slapped me.
Scotty Jive's girlfriend, who was just introduced that show.
That
Jive's
show,
girlfriend.
yeah. For the first time.
Strangely enough,
I knew
you
who
picked that
she
night
was,
to go
yeah.
after her.
I did my research, and I
Yeah.
pinpointed like who she was, and started making fun of Sky Jive, made fun of her, and she goes to slap me, and I grab her hand, and I put pressure on it, and then here comes Sky Jive making the
For
save.
the big save, yeah.
So that
Thus
led
begins
to our
the Scotty Jive.
embroiled in a blood feud right there. So,
Right.
Yep.
Now, was that the same time you started having a bodyguard?
No, that came after.
That was after. It was also during the Jive feud, right?
Yeah. So it was me versus Sky Jive. He was
Right.
the champion, defending his title
How were
against
those
me.
matches?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You don't know?
I haven't watched them recently. So
We're gonna have to sit down and
that
watch
was
those.
2005, so I don't know. I just know there was some sort of double down.
Yeah.
His girlfriend was at ringside. I went to use the belt. His
Heavyweight championship.
ACW heavyweight championship.
Not world.
No, not in the world. Maybe regional. Or,
Yeah.
You know,
Fall River rule.
Fall River. I went to use the belt on him, and she grabbed it from me.
Yeah.
And we were playing like tug of war with the belt.
Yeah.
And I just pulled it from her, and I just
Cold
instantaneous boom! Right at the same time he was getting up, I
knocked
clocked
Sky Jive right in the
Sky
face.
Jive right
Yeah.
in the face, and became ACW.
Un, deux, trois. Brand new
ACW champion.
ACW
yeah.
heavyweight champion. Now, something happened. Didn't that Scotty Jive's girlfriend turns heel?
Yeah.
Reveals
She
herself
left-
to
yeah,
be part
yeah.
of the Levesque army.
Afterwards, she hugged me.
She was part of the
and kissed
Levesque
me.
clique, right? She was
Yeah.
in the flock.
Mhm.
She was part of one of the followers.
So she pretty much was just a groupie for the heavyweight championship. Pretty much.
Yeah.
She
yes.
followed whoever was the champion.
Yeah.
That's who she wanted to be with. So, hey, man, I hear ya.
Are you saying you want to be with the heavyweight champion? That's kind of weird, man.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Pyro, I think he's the heavyweight champion.
Because I'm the showcase tag team champion. All the ladies want to be with me. That's what I'm trying to say, Draney.
I totally misunderstood you. So you become heavyweight champion. Are you booking, or is that
No, I'm not booking.
That's
That
Graves.
was
That's
Peter
Graves
Crave.
booking. You didn't book yourself
Crave, yeah.
to be champion.
No.
Now you
Of
have
course
these.
not.
You have these long, 45, 55-minute matches with Scotty Jive, just totally unbearable to watch.
The big rematch was A 1 hour Iron Man match? No, it
Jesus
couldn't have been.
Christ, really?
No, it couldn't have been.
Half an hour, maybe?
Maybe a half hour. 30-minute Iron Man match.
That's still too much. That's still too much.
I think it was a draw.
Didn't Jordan,
Jordan
Preston
came
Adonis,
out, yeah.
Preston Adonis,
Preston Adonis
at the time came out and squashed him like he broke his ribs or something?
Yeah, give him like a big Vader splash.
Yeah, broke his. I remember having that on tape and just watching like, oh my god, he just killed that dude. So Jive gets his ribs broken by Jordan, who becomes at that point your manager, or is
bodyguard?
I'm sorry, bodyguard. Yeah. There's a very big difference between those two.
He already had a manager. That was Scotty Jive's ex-girlfriend. Yeah,
right. She was your manager, valet.
Valet. Yeah.
You had a valet and a bodyguard, all to protect that heavyweight championship of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long was your feud with Jive?
I think it ended after Jordan squashed.
Just killed
his
him.
Ribs. Yeah.
Yeah, he literally just murdered him. So, did you go right from that feud into the feud with Mack?
No.
No. So what happened in between?
I'm not sure. It's a little fuzzy. I think Chris Tyler was inserted in
Chris Tyler, one of my favorite people of all time.
Two Stripes Chris Tyler.
We used to call him Two Stripes all the time.
It's because he used to represent the 2 yellow stripes on his tights. That was pretty much what his tights were designed of. Blue, 2 yellow stripes. And Chris Tyler, did he throw any robot punches at you? That's my question.
Kicks. Very stiff kicks.
Very. Now, if you fans don't know Chris Tyler, you probably don't. But he used to throw these robot-like strikes. Stuff like that. So tell us about this Chris Tyler feud. I know you remember a lot about it, so
not really. No,
give us the info. The fans want to know, Scott.
I think I wrestled Chris Tyler maybe 2 times, and I retained both times. That's all I remember.
So just the amount of stripes that he had on his tights is the amount that you wrestled him.
Yeah.
Now tell us
2 yellow stripes.
Now the booker of ACW really seen great potential in myself, and they wanted to make me heavyweight champion. So how did that feud come about? I know I was there. I know it had something to do with the Deadly Encounter, which is this wacky match with 2 rings.
But Mac, you know that's not how it really came about. It really came about in some sort of secret meeting with Dave and Peter Crave. And when did you have the book at the time when the Monster Mack feud idea first came about?
No,
you weren't booking it. That was all Crave.
That was Crave and Dave.
Crave and Dave.
The Crave and Dave regime.
Oh man,
if you will.
If you will, I don't, but you can if you want. So you find out you're going to be having a feuding with the old Mack. What's your initial thoughts here?
I believe he won number one contendership in a big War Games type of match called Deadly Encounter. Mac, was that the one that you hit me with like a jack-o'-lantern or something?
That might have been. I have no idea. But I do remember there was some kind of strange encounter with outside interference with Bloodstone, Anthony Stone, or what's his?
Nope, Mac, you are totally off, buddy. You're thinking of the title rematch or something like that.
Rematch. That was our second match that week.
He's talking about Deadly Encounter. You're talking about.
Then to answer your question, yes, I hit the shit out of you with a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. And I think at that time Peter Crave left for whatever reason, and I think William Thorne and Mark Quinn
took over the booking spot.
My former RDW alumnus.
Now, William Bullsworth didn't have anything to do with it? He wasn't booking at the time?
No. I think Bullsworth came later. After Will and Quinn left.
I thought he was already working with Crave.
Maybe it was William Thorne, Quinn, Bullsworth, and Dave.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That is a legitimate booking committee right there.
Yeah.
So you find out you're going to be working with Mack for the heavyweight belt, not the world heavyweight. And when do you...
The ACW
Regional Heavyweight Championship. And you start your feud. How does that come about? Do you have any idea?
I think he won that Deadly Encounter
Deadly
match,
Encounter deal.
where he hit me with that big jack-o'-lantern thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that turned into like a lot of the promos between you guys. Where
Turned
you were,
into
like,
like
you were
lots
calling
of
them out.
promos. Yeah, yeah.
You guys had a lot of like interaction. You guys waited a while between your actual first match.
There's
though.
lots of build-up. I think that's
your
when I
first
took the
match
book.
was
William and Quinn left.
Yeah.
So it was Dave and Billy Bully. And I was like, oh, only out of necessity. That's when I was like, okay, I have a knack for this. I might as well, try out booking, even though I was a champion at the time. But I wanted to stay true to like Peter Crave's booking.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure this whole Monster Mack thing happened. So it was lots of build-up, lots of promos, the way it should be.
Right.
The whole dynamic between like comedy
and like straight wrestling
and just straight like wrestler, And that's when we had the whole contract signing, which I booked. And I came out in a straight-up suit.
I'm going to take the shot. Hold on.
That was the spaghetti dinner that you're talking about that we had. With
there's a table set up in the ring. And
you had a very fancy suit on.
I had a very fancy suit on.
Ready
you had
to sign some
t-shirt,
contracts. Right? Yeah, I believe it was. I had the. It wasn't a t-shirt with a tuxedo printed on. It was like a fake shirt that connected around my neck that had a fake tie connected to it. And I was wearing my jumpsuit, my garbage man jumpsuit. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I was being very lazy for a few years. Decided to wear a
jumpsuit,
garbage man jumpsuit. But I did gear up in full wrestling gear for that title match. I brought back my old gear with my singlet and my half T-shirt so that the ladies can get a little peek at the ribs.
But before we get to that match...
hold on. 2 quick comments. First, at that time when he was wearing the jumpsuit, he wasn't just being lazy in the ring. He was being lazy in life. We would show up to shows, and he would go and sleep in the ring box. I know you remember that?
Oh, of course I remember that. Most of my time in ACW was spent sleeping in that ring box.
Just inside this big like cardboard box that they stored like the turnbuckle pads and like the padding for the ring all in this box. Every show, he would just go and wake me up before my match. And that was it. That's what he would do. And the second one was when you said you got all geared up for your heavyweight title match. If you look back and look at that footage, I when we come out to celebrate, I'm not wearing any pads, kick pads, or wrestling shoes because Monster Mack's wearing my knee pads, kick pads, and wrestling shoes, so he looks professional in his match with you.
Yeah.
A little Monster Mack fact over there. Underneath the garbage man jumpsuit, jeans and a T-shirt.
All right, so you guys start your feud. You guys do the spaghetti dinner.
By the way, it's in the multiplex, no longer in the VFW.
What I thought we were in the VFW, but doing random multiplex shows, like the first Deadly Encounter was at the multiplex, and then we were still doing VFW.
Maybe.
I feel like I'm right.
I think
I remember as the multiplex kind of being like the pay-per-view of ACW or the WrestleMania.
I know the
then we
spaghetti
eventually
dinner
started...
contract signing was at the multiplex.
Yeah, I do remember.
So maybe the whole build-up to our feud was at the multiplex.
Really? See, for some reason I thought you know what, you are right. It was the multiplex. Now that I think about it, but so we start running the multiplex. Mm-hmm. We're out of the VFW. Mm-hmm. We're running this big ass soccer center, drawing. Not really that well in that building.
Maybe 15?
Yeah, sometimes, man. It was pretty bad.
In ACW's defense, and I don't know why I'm defending them, but no one really draws well in that building for some reason. I know a few other places ran in the multiplex and with names and everything and didn't draw too well.
I feel like we went to a show there, like, as fans together.
Yeah, that was C. Mello's show, I think.
With, like, Johnny Cockstrong and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that really C. Mello's show? That's so weird. I didn't know it was him running that show.
Yeah.
Who else was on that?
Riot, Will.
There were no names or anything, though?
No names.
Why did we go to that show?
Because we knew him.
Oh, just because, yeah.
I went for Cockstrong, personally. Man, what a gimmick.
You were freaking out when we saw that, man. I remember you were yelling about getting that guy on a show and all kinds of nonsense. So you fell in love with Johnny Cockstrong that night. Oddly enough.
Does he still work?
I do. I'd seen him.
Really?
Yeah, I seen him at a Beyond taping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was Beyond. I'm not sure what. I'm pretty sure it was a Beyond show. But the finish of the match was he tucked the dude's head into his trunks, and he did a Canadian destroyer. So he Canadian destroyed him on his man parts. And the guy sold, and it was pretty crazy and stuff. But no, that guy I'm down with that dude. He's got a funny gimmick. Mack loves him.
I thought you were gonna say he has a strong cock.
No, Jesus, Mack.
Well, that's my one C-bomb for the night.
Oh, I can't even believe you said that. That's inappropriate. Children are gonna riot, and parents are gonna be very upset. So we're at the VFW. We're out of the VFW hall. We're in the multiplex. You have
big blowout with Jim, right? That's the guy who ran it.
Oh man, yeah. There was a big. Who used to feud with him all the Chad used to feud with him all the time. Chad and Jim, the guy who owned the VFW, would constantly go back and forth about what Chad could and couldn't do. Because at that time, Ray Ranson was just living his gimmick, just crazy as hell. Painting himself half black with shoe polish,
pushing the envelope,
and just calling people Uncle Ben, and just getting crazy with it.
Calling the guy who ran that VFW,
the guy who ran the VFW, Uncle Ben.
He also did the cotton picking gimmick where he told him to pick some cotton out of
the guy who ran the VFW. Yeah.
Also, there was a gay bartender that he used to mess with a lot. So Ray Ranson used to cause all kinds of mayhem.
Ray Ranson eventually would lead to us leaving ACW too, which is kind of funny, us sticking up for his crazy ass. But so you're at the VFW, you guys have the big blow-off match, which it leads up to end up being a mask versus mask match. Whose idea was that? Yours?
It had to be mine because the whole build-up was, I guess we wrestled beforehand, and I was trying to rip your mask off, Monster Mac.
Yeah.
So
every time me and you would hook up in the ring, even during battle royals,
or in the bedroom,
you're making it sexual. So any time me and you would hook up in the ring, you would always try to pull that rib on me and try to rip my mask off. Even during battle royals, even with Trainee, I don't know if it was us personally or just any masked wrestlers, but he wanted to expose my wonderful face, but. That's pretty much how the whole gimmick started. And in that match, you had the disadvantage from it's hard to see with your peripherals. I have it down packed.
You are just selling this like it's the DVD. Straight shooting it like your peripheral.
Sell it all over again.
This is exactly what he said in the DVD. The peripherals are off. You can't see anything. We want to get the real story. You came up with the idea for the mask versus mask match.
Yeah, just to clarify, the whole build-up was... Whenever we had encounters before the actual title match, I attacked him.
You would always
tried to take his mask off.
Yeah.
Almost came close to it. Then we had the contract signing.
GED did it in that battle royal. You were way too late.
We had the contract signing, and he stripped me down to my skivvies.
Yeah,
down to my underwear.
Trying to sign the contract. You got ripped down to your quackish.
So I got pissed. Next time I saw you, I tried to rip off your mask. So. I guess we had a stipulation where I would wear a mask during my title defense against you, and I lost.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I used that mask to my own advantage. I twisted it around. I rolled you up for the...
Because I tried bailing. I was like, F this. I'm out of here.
I got.
Then Trainee number 1 came out, threw me back in.
With no shoes on at all. Monster Mac had my shoes. I'm just wearing basketball shorts and a T-shirt. Throw Levesque back in the ring.
My mask was half off. Right?
It was all twisted up. Yeah.
I took it half off. Then
Max spins it sideways.
Train number 1 intercepted, threw me back in.
You're blind. Boom, 1, 2, 3, and those little kids went wild.
Yeah.
Ooh, you got a text, buddy. Turn your phone off during the podcast, Scott Levesque. Come on. So you lose the belt. And after that point, we were not in ACW for much longer when you were booking, right?
Yeah.
And it came to the point where I was interstate champion, Monster Mac was heavyweight champion, and this is we're gonna get a little weird with it. I was feuding with Scotty Jive, right? And he hit me in the head with a bell. I think that same night I talked about it with Eric Dillon a little bit. What happened to stop the Scotty Jive feud with me?
Well, you left.
I think even before that, Scotty Jive slapped a fan.
Okay, yeah, Scotty Jive slapped a fan. I remember Dave
I
calling
was
me.
gonna say, how do you guys react? Like, how do you find out about it? How do you react to find out that one of the main feuds going on at this time, Training Number One versus Scotty Jive, Interstate Championship, Scotty Jive slaps a fan. Like, how do you deal with that as your booking?
Okay.
Scotty Jive is your friend. Like, how do you feel at this point?
I found out because Dave called me. I was the head booker, so he called me, and he wanted Jive gone for slapping a fan. And I know exactly what fan it was. Sky Jive's my friend, so I defended him. And I just said, hey, don't get rid of him. Just suspend him or something, So I guess that kind of complicated the feud with you, right?
Greatly complicated the feud with me. It turned out that at that point, I was supposed to lose the interstate belt to Jive. You guys didn't want that anymore, so it was just on a spot show.
He was gone. He was suspended. So it was either like him getting suspended or gone.
Yeah.
And I think I threatened to quit the booking if he was gone. So I guess Dave was like, okay, we can
He's
suspend
suspended.
him. Yeah.
And that led to me losing the interstate belt to Chris Pyro.
Yeah.
Oddly enough,
it's
pretty crazy that it's come full circle to this point now, where I'm wrestling Pyro again. I don't know. I just find it weird. Like, all this happened. We left. We said, screw this. We're out of here. Like, we separated ourselves from all that nonsense just to come back and wrestle all these guys who, you know what I mean? Like, I was kind of found it funny. But what were you going to say, Mac?
I was going to say that you held that middleweight, middle card belt for over
the mid-card championship.
The mid-card championship for over a year. I don't know how long it was, but I know it was for over a year, and then you just randomly had to drop it to not discrediting Chris Pyro. He's a damn good professional wrestler, and but unfortunately, I just want to apologize to you, Scott Levesque. I know you dropped the belt to me, and then unfortunately,
just so you could leave,
exactly.
Yeah.
And, after
I don't want to rehash anything, but I was kind of pissed off.
No,
man.
I totally understand, and
I took over the booking just to make sure you win that championship, and you win it, then you leave.
Then, after looking back at it, I wish things didn't go down that way, but unfortunately it did. But on the plus side, we're back in full action, so.
Full action.
But I'm sorry things went down that way. We left ACW. And I have no idea what happened with ACW after then. Fill me in a little, Scott Levesque.
During the midst of our feud, we had an influx of guys that...
a lot of... the Yankee invasion is a lot of people calling it.
Like...
Before we go there, I believe we're skipping... We had the rematch for the championship. What I wanted to talk about...
We're not really skipping it because that happened before.
Yeah.
I see. Then continue.
During that time, I was booking. Dave told me, hey, we got some guys that want to come in here. And
now, at the time, I guess there was a lot of beef going on between Top Rope Promotions and a lot of the guys who were wrestling back when it was Yankee Brick House.
Mm-hmm.
Who else left?
Sean Candido.
Team Talent. Remember, there was like Pyro.
Pyro. Castro.
Yeah.
Carlos V.
Fantastic Frank. Hell yeah. Franco Fantastico. I'm a big fan.
And who else?
There's a lot of they started using Stallion. They were using Tex McCoy. They were using trying to think of who else I can remember from that time. Yeah, they used a lot of the Julius Sweet. He was like a manager.
Yeah, for Tex McCoy.
Yeah, Tex McCoy. They used a lot of the Yankee guys who were no longer in Top Rope became ACW guys. And you, as head booker at the time, you were told by Dave that you need to start using these dudes?
Yeah. It was my choice. He actually gave me the choice. So I just figured, why not,
Yeah.
And
not knowing it was going to lead to all your friends leaving the promotion.
Was that the reason why you guys left?
No, the reason that we left is because the fight we got into with Dave that night. It was just kind of like a screw this, we're out of here kind of thing. And, but... See, the Yankee guys didn't really bother me. I mean, I wrestled Pyro that night, I mean, and at that time, that was a pretty good match for. I mean, I consider it for myself. I obviously, we've all improved since that point of our lives, but I think I had a pretty decent match with him at that time. And
I think us leaving. I've had plenty of fights with Dave Oliveira. Things that went down before, and we came back to ACW. But I think what put the nail in the coffin was training number 1 threatening Dave Oliveira's life. We were sticking up for our buddy Scott, Ray Ranson. We were sticking up for Ray Ranson because we would do help out and do some ring crew at the end of the show, and they were giving us shit. All the other guys would just leave, and we would be the guys to stick around for the company. You know what I mean? Help take down the ring, and they would always try to push us. Oh, come on, guys, come on! So we were sticking up for our buddy, and whatever happened, I flipped out, and I think if it would have ended there, we would have came back. But Dave Oliveira decided to run his mouth while we were walking out the door, and that didn't fly with training number 1. And thankfully, there was the management of the multiplex was there to stop training number 1 from murdering Dave Oliveira. So pretty much that happened, and I think that was it.
What did Ray Ranson do?
We were talking to each other or something, and Dave got mad because we weren't taking down the ring fast enough because we were sitting there talking. And I guess my whole point was go yell at the people that left or go yell at the people that are outside not doing anything. Don't yell at the guys actually taking down your ring because they stopped for a second and they're having a conversation. I made a joke to Ray Ranson or whatever the deal was, but and then it just turned to this whole big fight. And I keep getting blamed for knocking over the ring post and all that when really it was just Mack and Chad randomly knocking over. I remember being super angry and arguing with Dave, and Mack already knocked over the post, and seeing Ray Ranson run over and knock over a second post and run away real quick is burnt in my memory forever as one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Because he was just so angry, but he was just trying to prove a point because Mack did it as well. I don't know. I don't know what the deal was. But it was pretty funny. That was the last time we wrestled for ACW until he paid us to come back years later when we were doing that Raven show. But you wrestled. I call it the Raven show, but you wrestled Raven that show.
Yeah.
Danny Davis, I think, was there too. A few other names. But so we left the multiplex. We were all done. How long was it between then and when you guys went to the New Bedford Soccer Center?
Sorry, before you answer that, just to correct you real quick, I believe I did an ACW Battle Royal before coming back when ACW before they transitioned into Whaling City Wrestling. I believe I did an ACW Battle Royal.
Probably a couple.
A few of them, yeah. But yeah, then we had that match where they brought Raven down. Now to the question that Trinity number 1 asked you, if you remember it.
Before we get to that, I just want to reiterate that I remember getting a message from training number 1 getting mad at me because...
Was I mad at you?
I think
was I just mad?
You're mad. And...
To me, it's funny now. I look back at that. You know what I mean? I look back at that stuff and I'm just like, what the hell? Why did I give a damn at all? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But being a booker at the time, and I think that led to my decision to not be a booker anymore.
Yeah,
was
me being mad at you. I'm sorry,
was,
dude.
One of my best friends being mad at me because
wrestling stuff, and it was something audio control, and it was something Dave told you to go down. It was me losing a pyro, right? Is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I remember just being mad. I didn't think it made any sense. I was feuding with Jive for a year.
I had my hands tied because the guy you're supposed to drop it to.
Slapped
We're building
a
a feud between you guys, I want to
ask Jive how that happened.
He slapped the fan.
What the hell that was about?
Dave wanted him gone, and I suspended him instead, and we had to do something else.
Straight slapped a fan, man. Who does that? For real? I don't even... It wasn't it I don't know, man. It was a crazy situation. Scotty Jive, if you're out there and if you're listening to this, you need to call me and tell me what the hell you were thinking, man. But yeah,
he was pissed. He slapped the fan.
You were in a lot of uncomfortable positions at the time as booker.
Yeah.
We left. How long was it until you basically gave up the book to Sean Candido?
Soon after.
Didn't it Candido came in as like a guest booker with you, right?
He came in as we're dual bookers for Dave,
Right.
Because by that time, Bully was gone because he roughed up Eric Dillon
Yeah.
in a match, and I don't know. There was a big to do about it, and
Was it him just being
being a dick, I guess,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Dave felt pressure to do something about it, so we canned Billy Bully, and he was gone. So it's just me and Dave. So to fill the void, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
You guys brought in Candido.
Bullsworth was a yes man anyway, So we brought in Candido. So it was basically me and Candido booking, and we had a partnership.
So that's Candido came in, he started helping you with booking, eventually took it over. By the time you guys went to the soccer center, did you still have,
I was still there.
you still had a hat in the race or whatever the saying is?
Yeah. I still had a hand in the booking, and I volunteered to leave because after having one of my best friends leaving messages on my phone.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, dude.
Over a questionable, act,
I'm
which
so
I had
sorry.
There was reasons behind it. you know? The guy you were supposed to feud with and drop the title to.
Slapped the fan.
Slapped the fan, and he was suspended.
I wish I could take all that back.
I threatened
now,
to
dude.
quit
I'm
to
sorry.
save his spot in the roster.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and very stressful. Then I had guys that I didn't even know call me just to get booked, question my,
You were booking when, who showed up? Nero? Magnum?
Oh, man.
What was that?
Angel.
Who else?
They were led by
the
Angel.
Icon, right? Angel the Icon.
Angel the Icon.
From
Angel Hardy the Icon,
Angel Hardy.
by the way.
From what does he wrestle? What did he wrestle back in the day? What was it?
AWA, man.
Well, that's what they
They
said,
shut
right?
us down, yeah.
They said it was.
They weren't getting booked.
Let's break it down. It was
Let's illustrate this picture. It was
Angel
Icon, Matt Magnum,
Magnum,
Nero,
who is now
JT Dynamite,
Vinny Marcellia.
Yep.
JT Dynamite, which is JT Dunn.
Yep. Angel was the spokesman.
Yeah, he came.
He came to Dave and said, "Hey, man, let's get booked. Book us." And obviously, Dave directed them towards me, and I had a sit-down one-on-one with Angel Icon, who, just a brief synopsis, said, "Hey, if you don't book us, we're part of this AWA thing, a revival of the AWA. If you don't book us, we'll shut you down."
I heard they were throwing whose name around? Was it John Cena's dad's name that they were throwing around at the time?
I don't recall.
I believe it was. And they were saying, "Oh, well, he'll come right down here and shut you guys down." Yada yada. I do recall a little bit of that before our departure with ACW. I did meet some of them guys. I was heavyweight champion at the time. So
it was basically
You had to deal
strong-armed
with-
into booking them.
yeah.
And it was like a big, maybe a 8-man tag or something. Maybe a 6-man tag. And, yeah.
So now we leave. You're basically giving up your part in
My
booking.
best friends left.
Yeah.
I took over the booking to ensure that Monster Mack got the title from me.
Yeah.
I put him over. We have that big rematch.
Yeah.
And soon thereafter, he was supposed to lose to Havoc, which sucked, but,
Yeah. It happens.
whatever. It happens.
And he did. You dropped it to him, right?
No. Monster Mack no-showed.
Did you? I thought you showed up.
No.
I remember
Havoc
we
won the
said-
championship because
Yeah.
you no-showed, and there was a big battle royal.
Yeah, I wish I could change it all, but remember we sent a scout to the show to make sure that Dave Oliver didn't trash on my name.
We have I legitimately have a cease and desist order on the laptop still from when that happened. We mailed Dave a cease and desist order. That way he wouldn't mention Monster Mack's name or any of that stuff. We didn't want him to bash us in any way. So we sent Eli there with a camera to film any promos or anything like that. Oh man, that's hilarious. I forgot all about that.
I wish I could take it all back and just show up to the show. After I look at it, it's kind of silly. for example, me versus Scotty Jive in the Mackumentary, you see Havoc bash my face with a kendo stick like 8 times. He wasn't even supposed to be in the goddamn match. You know what I mean?
So if anyone, temper, you know?
That was like, thinking back, my memory was like, this guy's probably going to try to shoot on me. That's why I didn't show up. So, yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
So you guys leave the multiplex. You guys are running the New Bedford Soccer Center. Now, what were you doing?
My best friends are gone.
Yeah, we're gone.
I'm getting these calls from guys that
strangers just calling, trying to get on shows,
trying to get on shows, or guys that are currently on the roster not liking their
position,
angle or whatever. I just figured, man, it's not worth it, and I just focused on being like a wrestler, and I just let Sean Candido just handle the book by himself.
Well, I would like to thank Sensational Scott Levesque for coming out. And don't worry, Macamaniacs. We'll have a number 2 podcast with Scott Levesque.
Yeah, we're gonna go part 2 with Levesque. We're gonna talk about some of the funny ACW stories. We're gonna get into more like backstage ACW stories.
Some of the inside info for you fans. We'll get some funny stories going on. But we'll like to thank you for listening. I hope you took a long car drive, or maybe
maybe you listen to this at work, or anything like that. We'd like to thank you for taking the time out, listening to this podcast, listening to Scott Levesque's story over here on the Monster Mack Mackcast podcast over at monstermack.net.
I'd like to thank you fans for supporting all independent wrestlers like myself and Trainee and Scott Levesque. And I would like to remind you fans that we should have some new merchandise for you fans. And always visit monstermack.net 24/7.
So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank Scott Levesque for coming out. I am Trainee number 1.
As always, I'm the sexy, the smart, the French one, Monster Mack.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. We love you, but not as much as you love us. I think, maybe. I don't know.
Good night, fans, or good day, or good afternoon, or whatever time it is. Good night.